The Mandingos, for example, I have an experience. My view about the Mandingos in Liberia and the ethnic question in Lofa, Bon, and Nimba have changed significantly since I live in Guinea. The Koniaka Mandingos, who are the so-called Liberian Mandingos, used to historically be our heroes. They resisted Islam initially, but when they were subdued by the jihadists and they converted to Islam, they decided, they were running and fighting and coming down south as those empires broke up. I think Alhaji Nkrumah did a perfect job with that history of that Bopolu, Gegedu Masanta corridor as a trade route, and the military structures, indigenous military structures that guided them. So the Mandingos opted to be inside Liberia because they had traded, and Gegedu and all these places used to be probably part of Liberia. But do you know that the Mandingos, some of us usually call Guineans, in our ignorance of history and facts? When they get in Guinea, the Guineans call them Liberians. They even beat them and attack them first when there is any confusion in Guinea. And therefore, as we speak presently, there are more than 45,000 Mandingos from Nimba who are sitting in a refugee camp near Wylie, who cannot go back to their homes and towns in Nimba. I think that is a potential source for conflict. And ECOWAS should not wait for us Liberians to take a decision before they intervene, because they now have a proactive ECOWAS conflict prevention framework, which I personally vetted in Burkina Faso. And that framework allows for the intervention, because the tendency to hide behind the cloak of national sovereignty, and that this problem is our internal problem, y'all don't come here. You will still call ECOWAS tomorrow when the problem breaks down into open violence. So ECOWAS will no longer wait. ECOWAS has what we call the Council of the Wise, COW, from all 60 member states. The wise woman from Liberia is Teresa Lee Sherman. And the terms reference, one of the things in the term reference of the Council of the Wise is to be used by ECOWAS to mediate potential conflict situations so that they don't get out of hand. They don't have to wait. And our so-called national sovereignty should no longer stop them. In fact, what makes the OAU different from the AU is that the AU has deleted that national sovereignty. The AU now wants a standby force. ECOWAS wants a standby force, so that when you take arm and overthrow a legally elected government one morning, ECOWAS will tell you, step down or we are coming there. That force, in theory, is supposed to be based in Freetown. And the logistic base will be based in Mali. So ECOWAS need to intervene in cases like that. But let me get back to the Mandingos. The Mandingos and the Lomans have had their age-old porous society desecration quarrels. And from my own experience, there are Mandingos who left Nimba County, who left Bon County, who left Monrovia, when they were 2 years old and stay 18 years in Guinea. Tell me which language they will speak when they come back after peace, after we sign a peace accord. They will speak French, they will speak one Guinean language. My son, I heard by a girl from Lexington, Sayonkla. He was 8 years old. When I was speaking on the radio, his mother got afraid and fled to Guinea to me. My son now speaks Soso, he speaks Fula, speaks Mandingo, and speaks French. I transfer him to Accra. He's now speaking Twi. But my son cannot speak Sapo. Does it mean that when my son returns to this country, he's going to be a Fanti man? He's going to be a core Ghanaian? No. There are thousands of our citizens, Mandingo citizens, who fled this country and went into exile. When they came back, some of them fought with us, and now we are calling them foreigners. I think it is not fair. It is not in the interest of peace. And when a group of people start to feel that they are without a state, because the Konyaka Mandingo are not owned by the state in Guinea, we cannot reject them in Liberia. Because we said in our constitution that only people of African origin can become citizens of Liberia. Now, don't get me wrong, if you are working with the immigration also, there are illegal Mandingos who come across who make their own job difficult because some of these people are not educated, but they have their siblings on this other side. If you are a Mandingo, you come here and straighten your something with the immigration. 2 years later, you are entitled to go into immigration and regularizing your citizenship. You can become citizen. You don't have to fight too hard. And there are many Mandingos who have done that. There are others that were born here. Now, there are two shades of Mandingos in Liberia. The Nimba Mandingos are the children and descendants of those who migrated from Mali more than 100 years ago. Their roots with their siblings in Mali, and those of you who are historians, Dr. Guano, if you are listening, please correct me because I stand to be corrected. And I believe that knowledge is a cumulative process. Their children have cut off their links, the cabinet Janes, and all these people. They have cut off their links with Mali. The similarity they have is only the names. But the Lofa Mandingos still have siblings across the place, the border there. Just like the Crown. The Crowns are more than the people, the Crowns in Ivory Coast are more than other people in Liberia. But they are a small segment when it comes to, Liberia. There are not many. The Guios are less in Cote d'Ivoire and they are more in Liberia. So in Cote d'Ivoire, it is the Crowns that protect the Guios politically over time. And therefore, the question of changing citizenship, and that is why I continue to tell this commission and even the UN system and ECOWAS that we will not be afraid to criticize them, because UN people are human beings who are liable to make mistakes by taking one size fits all and bringing it to every country with different culture. The Kamajors in Sierra Leone, for example, graduate their young men at the age of 12, show them how to shoot a gun, and send them to war or send them to hunt. When you charge somebody who operates a Kamajor unit with harboring a child soldier, with recruiting child soldier, it means technically you are trying to use European cultural value to criminalize African values. And that is wrong. So the tension between our culture, our tradition, our behavior, and the European cultures and norms that we try to bastardize and adopt. That tension is still there. There has been no. So now even the UN in warfare is beginning to think that, look, child soldiers got categories. You know, there are times when the entire community is attacked, even the children have to fight. When the community is attacked, there is no time to read Geneva Convention. Your mother is dead, your sister is raped. And so to take the feelings of the people who are in distress out of the context of what happened and say, oh, according to Geneva Convention, according to this, yes, we want to get there, but the reality is we are not there yet. Ghana just passed a law that children should not sell on the street. With the level of rural poverty, my brother is dead, up interior, he sent his 5 children, my salary cannot send my 2 children to school. How you think those children are going to eat if we don't make them sell cold water in a society where there is not sufficient employment to cover the adult population? So when I send my child in Ghana, who is under, I think 18, to sell on the street, I have committed a crime according to law. Do not criminalize our culture. There are people who deliberately, knowingly recruit young people and put them under arm to kill adults, to kill people. And those people must be singled out. So the UNs are now come and they should be punished. Because our children should not be recruited to fight war. But in a society where the entire district is attacked and thousands of people are on the move, where are you going to put the children so that they don't come in contact with battle? No one in Geneva can explain that so easily. And therefore they have come up with children with the fighting forces. Children associated with the fighting forces. Because they have caught themselves. So our tribal diversity and all of these things have come to play, but we should elevate ourselves beyond our parochial thinking about each other and put our country first. We don't have a choice. We tried for 14 years to kill all the Guyo people, which did not succeed. We tried for 14 years to execute the Congo people, we did not succeed. We tried for 14 years to kill all the Crowns and the Mandingo and eat their body, we did not succeed. So we have to try something new. Let's look into the future. That is where the ideas that will liberate us are. Our differences and animosities that have been formed historically, we should look at them and learn lessons from them. The structural injustices. You know, America did not do the Americo-Liberians fairly. I always said that, and the poet said, this is rhetoric, Joe. I said, sometimes, if you look inside any rhetoric, you find small substance. Our forefathers who ran away from plantation slavery in America and came to seek freedom in Africa, braved the Atlantic Ocean, and came here, did an honorable job. But in 1926, America chased the Americo-Liberians with another plantation, Firestone. Took 1 million acres of the Bassa people's land. You know how they got them out of the land. They decimated their culture. They changed all of the Bassa people town to number 1 and number 2 and number 3. Their town names became numbers. Where Firestone is was given a name with 3 letters from Harvey Firestone's wife's name and his name, Habel. That's how Habel Habel is not a bastard name. Then, to add insult to injury, as we speak, let me now go back to what happened with 1 cent per acre. The government that was sitting in the mansion at the time, CDB King, they relegated themselves. They betrayed the freedom that they ran for by selling their brothers to Spanish cocoa planters. Today, Firestone gives each rubber typer 650 trees to tie. We asked Firestone management how many trees, how many minutes per tree. They lied and said 3 minutes. If you do your not math but arithmetic, you will discover that 650 times 3 will give you 19 hours and 30 minutes per day for one rubber typer who is supposed to work 8 hours per day. Now, somebody got to convince me in this room as if I were in a third grade that is not slavery. As a result, the Firestone rubber typer has to take his children, his cousins, his wives, to go and type rubber free for Firestone, just so that the breadwinner will meet his quota, so that he will not be sacked. And therefore, such conditions for me are the conditions that continue to reproduce the poverty, the disenchantment, the disgruntlement that lead to conflict, and the conflict that lead to violence and war. And so if we stop the reproduction of poverty, if we stop the reproduction of the disenchantment, it was only recently that Firestone was able to build a high school. So why did they think that a rubber typer's son is not supposed to have a PhD or go to high school? So you see, we have to face this country, but there are too many things that were wrong and are still wrong today. But Firestone has something powerful that has always subdued our leaders in this country, and that seduction relegate them to what we used to call the slave drivers. They were the administrative arm and local group to make sure Firestone exploit. If we own Firestone, then why is it that in spite of the money Firestone makes per year in this country as the largest rubber farm, we don't have roads? We got the largest rubber farm, but we don't have roads. Firestone does not want to add value to the rubber. We don't make 1 pen out of rubber. So the extractive nature of the industry itself takes our rubber out and buy them $300 per ton and come and sell the same one tire to you for $300. That is historical injustice that has to be corrected. Firestone has brown envelopes, and because the elite, the ruling elite of this country were never industrial, they did not have industry historically, they did not venture into commerce, so their only source of capital accumulation was to steal from the bureaucracy and impose hot taxes on people that were not represented in government. Taxation without representation brought about the American Revolution. I don't want to get historical, I want to look in the future, and I see myself slipping back. into that history. I caught myself. But I'm not going to sit here and face Firestone. I'm not going to sit here and think that I can provide an answer to the corruption in this country. All I can sit here and tell you is that we are on this boat together. And if a Mandingo man is speaking French because he lived for 18 years in exile, do not refer to him as a Guinean. And if one Congo man has come and killed somebody in your town, don't think all the Congo people are murderers.